Good afternoon and welcome back to another episode 108. We are moving along at a rapid pace. I'm your host Jason. Happy to be back. AF, you are joining me today. It's just a two-man, a 4-4-2, but only the two. How's it going?
Now I'm doing good. 4-4-2. It's like who's playing up front, man? Is it York and
I
Cole? Is it
It probably is, yeah. Otherwise, I'm trying to think of the iconic pairings. I think Dwight York and Andy Cole's probably the most synonymous for that two strikers. Otherwise, it's a Jermaine Defoe, Peter Crouch combo. We'll decide
not
and see.
having that? Not having that.
Not having that at all. But how's it going, man? How's things been?
Yeah, going well. Fast is going along quite quick.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm enjoying the football that we're getting. Lots of great results in the Champions League this week as well. So yeah, it's been late nights, and then the fact that I have to wake up 4 a.m. in the morning to start my fast, that's not ideal either. But yeah, we do it for the love of the game, man.
100%, man. Charge it to the game. Yeah, so we are back. 108. It's not a recent times we've been doing lots of lives. We're going back to a little bit of a recorded thing today, which for AF and I, we were discussing. It seems a bit weird. It seems a bit strange, but we are here. A bit of an interesting one today. We're going to look back. We've got a big week of football coming up, but there's also been a lot of football that has happened. So we'll be jumping into the Man United Arsenal game. Obviously, a lot to talk about in that one. We'll then jump to a little bit of an Arsenal Chelsea preview. Obviously, a big game, a guy with £100 billion pound squad and a guy with 100 billion injuries. So, yeah, let's see how that goes. And then we'll jump to the Carabao Cup Final, Liverpool against Newcastle. A lot has happened since things have been confirmed, since they qualified and since they were confirmed as finalists. So we'll be looking at a little bit of that. But yeah, AF, let's jump into, a game that we were actively a part of, both of our teams playing. What are the thoughts leading into the game? And then just a few thoughts on how the game actually went.
Yeah, so I was quite nervous about the game because judging by United's form going into it and all of these different injuries, and I think the last I counted it was 12 injuries in total. And it's not just like bench players or anything like that, like players on the outskirts that got injured. It was actual first team players. And then going into the game as well, Leniado ended up getting injured as well, and I think he's only back now in the second week of April. So there's it's more and more people still getting injured, and that obviously didn't fill me with hope. The first half, I think United were poor. I don't think we looked like we were up to it or anything. And then whatever happened at halftime, I don't know if Amorim said something to them, if Bruno tried to act as a sort of a catalyst to the team, but they just came out in the second half, and that was probably the best 45 minutes of football that I've seen under them play under Ruben Amorim. Yeah, what are your thoughts?
I think going into the game, it was a bit scary because you never know which United team's going to turn up. And if recent results and form was anything to show, I thought, despite the numerous injuries that both teams had, it would still be an open game. I didn't expect, or I sort of expected United to sit up with a more defensive structure. The first half really was an adjustment for me because there was a lot that Arsenal did in the defensive to middle third, but come final third, there was nothing. And as much as you want to look at it and you want end-to-end football, a little basketball game back and forth, I have to give credit to United for being as disciplined as they were. We've spoken about this previously on many shows about how United set up against the bigger teams and put the emphasis on the opposing team to actually do something. And they'll wait their time, and it showed. They had nothing in the first half except one free kick and a really well-taken free kick. We've spoken about, or I've felt, we don't see a lot of direct free kicks coming in. So for Bruno to score that one, and there were a whole lot of things about maybe the wall was gone too far back, Raya was standing too far, but at the end of the day, you still need to get it up and down. You still need to score the free kick. So it was an expertly taken free kick. I'm going to give him that. And I know Bruno himself divides a lot of the Man United fan base, But again, you look back and he's been somewhat consistent in terms of output. Now, if you're looking at it from a football purist perspective, you want more in his performance, and that's, I think, justifiable. But at this time, where things are as dysfunctional as they are, for him to be putting up the sort of numbers that he is, I think you have to give a bit of a tip of the hat to that. Going to the game, I knew we were going to struggle to create. The PSV was a bit of an outlier. I think Champions League teams go for it. They actually play, and it's easier if any team attacks you and there's spaces you are able to navigate, even if you have a left back playing in the central midfield or you have a striker that's actually a midfielder, you'll make the chances. That second half, scary. Scary in that United turned up the way that I think they turned up against Liverpool at Anfield. There was a purpose to their play. I don't know what it was. Maybe somebody threw something at somebody, or if the goal really boosted that spirit to actually say, you know what, we actually are in this. We can not steal something. We can actually do something in this game.
Yeah.
It was one of those where, it's like if you win, then you're like, okay, it's good. But yeah, that draw felt like a loss.
Yeah. Shout out David Raya. That guy was, I think he channeled Superman there during that game. He was just making save after save. That Xerxes back heel flick, the Mazraoui shot that like Bruno played that diagonal across, and Mazraoui just took it on like sort of a half volley. The Bruno shot as well. That like, I mean, I think I don't know if you saw the Peter Drury clip from Sky Sports, and Peter Drury sounded like he was celebrating already because like 9 out of 10 times Bruno puts that in the back of the net, but I think David Raya was just absolutely insane. So I think he should have been the man of the match. I don't know who was the actual man of the match.
I think it was Declan Rice, which also but no, 100%. Shout out David Raya.
Yeah. I think if it wasn't for David Raya, that game ends about like probably 5-3 or 5-2 or something like that.
Yeah, it was crazy. I mean, look, the three goals is probably if Arsenal can take some of the chances, but I think United had more of the clear-cut chances. And again, you'd look back and people think, in terms of today's current market, you're not wanting to spend like 30 to 40 mil on a goalkeeper. People find it very excessive. But it's in games like these that you realize you pay top dollar for good keepers because of these sort of performances. Yeah. It seems very simple, but oftentimes, and I think you would probably be a testament to this, shots that come straight at Onana that you'd expect him to save, he hasn't saved. So, and it's been the actual difference between, winning, drawing, losing, things of that nature.
Yeah.
So, you pay that extra. And okay, Raya maybe at fault for the free kick. He gave a massive amount of space for Bruno to aim at. But then if he saves the free kick, maybe he doesn't save 2 of the 3 chances and we still end up losing. So you have to really wait up. Okay, he had made a mistake, but I think second half he took it on himself to keep us in the game because he understands that he was at fault for the first goal. So, absolute massive performance. Ode to Declan Rice, though, because I think people often, they see him as a very average player, and I will admit, before we signed him, I thought this guy he's just, sideways, he can do it. But he's shown his value and he's done exceptionally well. And in a game like that, he was keeping it ticking over where, maybe Odegaard wasn't doing what I wanted him to do as both a captain and as a creative midfielder. I think Declan Rice is the heartbeat that keeps that midfield moving, man. What a metronome.
And that crazy tackle that he performed on Højlund as well.
Yes.
If he goes in for that tackle about a second and a half later, like I know Højlund's not in the best form of his life, but that could have been the goal that actually like acts as a catalyst for him to like find that sort of scoring touch again. But I mean it's moments like that, like it changes the game, it changes the course of the season and stuff. Not that I think that Arsenal has a chance to come back into the Premier League now, but I mean it's like moments like that. You guys are still in the Champions League. You guys still have things to play for, and it could be a good motivator to the team as well. I just want to shout out Nus Mazraoui real quick. The guy was fasting, and I think he was United's best player. He was busting a lung, busting 2 lungs, busting 3 lungs
Yeah.
at every chance that he got. And at one point, it seemed like he was trying more than every other player on the pitch for
Yeah.
United, which is crazy because he was fasting. Guy had no sustenance. He was just going on like pure passion and yeah.
Pure hatred
Uh,
for Arsenal, maybe.
or-
That
or
fuels it.
yeah. But yeah, just shout out to him and shout out Aiden Evan. I mean, like a few weeks before this game, like he was an Arsenal player. He was on the bench for you guys. I think it was one of the cup games. And he didn't look out of place at all. He looked quite assured.
Yeah.
Um, Martinelli looked frustrated that he couldn't get past him a couple of times. So the fact that the kid is so young and he came and he had such a professional and assured performance that was really good.
Yeah, no, 100%. Both on Masraoui and Heaven as well. I think Masraoui wouldn't, but I think his performances this season have been like 7 out of 10s at like on a very consistent basis. Okay, everybody's not going to be able
Yeah.
to perform consistently, but on the odd game where he has an off game, it's probably just lapse of concentration. But in a game like that where defensively United might not have fielded their best yet, stepped up 100%, and the same with Heaven as well. It's I don't think he needed to be motivated more for the game than the fact that it was against Arsenal. But then you still have to go out and then perform well and still do it. And okay, Martinelli is probably
Yeah.
not the best litmus test for him because he just came back, but still a Prem player, a Prem proven player, and to have handled him that well, you have to give flowers. Whether it's going to continue, whether you'll be as hyped for every game, and whether you'll be able to perform as consistently, that's something else. But definitely good signs for you guys, especially with everything that we'd spoken about previously and the defensive
Yep.
frailties that are currently plaguing Man United. I mean, shout out Gary O'Driscoll because he's now gone, isn't it? Aren't we happy about that? He has left, right? So yeah, him and I think his partner in crime. I didn't read the full article,
Yeah.
but I'd seen that he's left. So that's 18 months. I think we had him for like 16 years. So you guys had him and you said 18 months was too much. 18 months too many.
Yeah,
So yeah,
I think this new management structure, like if anybody's watched the Jim Ratcliffe interview with Gary Neville on Monday, you can see like from what he said, this new management team that is assembled, Jason Wilcox, Omar Barada himself, they sort of take note of things and pick up on things quite quickly. They did it with Dan Ashworth. They dropped the ball a bit on Eric Ten Hag, and Jim Ratcliffe admitted that that was a mistake. But yeah, it seems like they're taking note of things like very quickly, and with the pile up of injuries, it's no coincidence that like you guys suffered for the
yeah,
longest period through it,
yeah,
and the more this guy was in charge and running things in his department, the more the injuries were piling up. And yeah, I
yeah.
think good on them for taking note of that, and hopefully the replacement they get in, they perform more due diligence on that individual.
No, that's fair. That's fair. Okay, let's park that one there. We're going to jump a bit of a segue. I mean, we're still going to talk about Arsenal because if I'm hosting, we have to talk about Arsenal, isn't it? Arsenal against Chelsea, big game coming up. Yeah, the United draw probably slowed us. If there was ever a slim chance, it's now even slimmer. We now welcome Chelsea to the Emirates on Sunday. 3:30, sort of a curtain raiser for that Carabao Cup final. Chelsea form, being a bit inconsistent, being a bit up and down. Maybe Sadiq might have something to say once he watches this. Maybe puts a different comment in the chat. What are we thinking about this team? What are we thinking about your favorite player, Ghost Palmer? And what are the chances coming to the Emirates?
So the thing is, I think this Chelsea team was built around Cole Palmer, and the struggles over the last what's it been, like 2 months now?
Yeah,
Like results haven't always gone their way. They are sort of scraping wins. I mean, like the last one out with Cucurella scoring the winner. It's no coincidence that Cole Palmer hasn't been performing during that time period. And I think the longer this carries on, the worse it's going to be for them. Um, I think it was Enzo Maresca said that when he joined, his objective, or the owners told him his objective wasn't getting into top 4. But I think he's backtracked on that a bit lately, because now it's like within reach, they have to do it. So I think the longer these sort of performances carry on, and teams are gonna like pick them out, and I don't know who's still left in the remaining 10 games. If there's any Bournemouths in there, if there's any Fulhams or any of these teams that that can be a sort of a banana peel for them. So I don't know. I think they're gonna have to start looking for other players to step up. I know Pedro Neto has it in them. Jadon Sancho's been an absolute ghost as well. Since he posted that freedom
Something
comment,
that
I don't think
you're probably happy about, isn't it? Is it like some sort of vindication for you?
So the thing is, I didn't hate Jadon Sancho. Like I liked the guy. I thought that he was a good squad player and stuff, but his mannerisms and his behavior and his etiquette and all of those things, it just didn't mesh quite well with the United values. And I think the people at Chelsea are starting to see it now. But the downside is they signed that obligation to buy at the end of the season if United finish 15th and higher. I think, say if United, or 14th and higher. I think if United finish 15th and lower, then he comes back to United at the end of the loan. So I think they're hoping that United finish in the bottom 6. I think that's really what they're hoping for. But yeah, like the thing is, he is his own worst enemy. He says the wrong things on social media. I don't think his agents have helped him well enough as well. That freedom comment was really uncalled for. And I think Rashford tried to distance himself from it as well. And look at the difference. Rashford's gone to Aston Villa and he's assisting for fun over there. Whereas Sancho's come to Chelsea and he struggles. Like he comes away with an assist every now and then. But more often than not, they're looking for people to step up, and he's just another person that's not doing it.
Yeah, the form has been, and I mean, going back to your comment about Maresca at the start of the season saying he's not going to compete, unfortunately, if you spend as much money as they have, it becomes a bit of an issue when you say that you're not going to compete, because then you've invested so much and you're basically saying, I need another 200, 300 million to try and get my sort of players, where I think they've signed a good core group of youngsters, and it's not going to be easy. But then don't say it like you're the underdog story. It's the same thing with like Pep Guardiola talking about, underdog. You've spent a massive amount of money, and I don't think enough is being made about their sort of form after the January transfer window, where they pumped another 200 million into the club, and it's been very shaky, right? It's been very sus. But yeah, Chelsea is an interesting case. We said at the start of the season it would be the banana skin game for every club, because you genuinely don't know which team's going to turn up. And rightfully so, the form that Cole Palmer showed has sort of filtered into the team. And I don't think it's for a lack of trying. I mean, he missed the penalty over the weekend, and some of the chances that he had previously taken, he was getting those same ones and he just couldn't convert. So they're grinding out the results, which is fine. They should push because they're in a position where they can still secure basically a plaster over a crack, if they say the season is sort of a crack. Going to be a bit of a banana skin for us again, because we've got a bit of recent history in that we've done well against them at home, regardless of the form that they've shown. And I think last year especially, they were in a very good hot streak of form. Cole Palmer was sick. And then, I think we slapped them like 5. But that was so it was in a time period where we had all of the fit players. Everybody was pulling towards winning the title and things like that. I think I don't know who starts for them. I genuinely can't figure out who the centre-backs are, who the midfielders are. Enzo's coming to form, and I'm not sure if it's because he's sort of rekindled with his wife again. I genuinely don't know. Nicholas Jackson out, which actually helps me, because I think he's actually a very tricky player to mark and to handle. Christopher Nkunku possibly plays, but where are we finding the key battles that are going to exist in this game? And is it Arsenal still need to win all the games? Is it one where a bit of complacency creeps in with the understanding that Liverpool's going to win this league regardless? So is it just going to be a foot off the pedal?
So, like, even though Arsenal's front line is basically injured, I still think that Chelsea's defense is like quite frail at times.
Yeah,
I don't like you said now, like you don't know who could be their centre back and stuff. And I don't think because Mariska has so many options at his
yeah,
disposal, he still doesn't know his best combination. It could be Tosin and Trevor Chalobah, and that is crazy because Trevor Chalobah was shipped out at the starting of the season because
yeah,
Mariska didn't want to take him with on the US tour. So he
yeah,
didn't even get a plane ticket. He was just like, no, you're training alone back in
yeah,
London, and we're going to send you out on loan instead. He comes back in January, and he's the first, basically one of the first names on the team sheet every game.
yeah.
So I don't actually know what happened there. So yeah, it could be Trevor Chalobah, it could be Tosin. I don't know, is Levi Colwell
I think he's
injured or
available.
is he
No, I think he could be
available?
available. Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
know.
so
Again, you're asking the wrong person. I don't care about Chelsea, but
yeah,
yeah,
there's so many options over there, and I think that the fact that there's so many options, they haven't been able to build an understanding. And I'm speaking from
yeah,
experience with United as well.
yeah,
I don't think Amorim has played the same combination of back threes since he took over. I think
yeah,
it's always like swapping, and
yeah,
that's why like the communication isn't that great. And the same we can say for Chelsea. And I think Arsenal, with the build-up play, with all of the creativity, Trossard, Martinelli, Odegaard pulling the strings, the like from the quarterback positions. Um, I think that they'll be able to unlock that, and yeah, I think that's where I would spotlight a battle on that pitch, just like Arsenal knowing how to unlock that defense, and then obviously Robert Sanchez as well, being the a keeper that creates his own downfall sometimes.
yeah.
That's something that they'll try to take advantage of as well.
But it's not just Sanchez because I think what is his name, Jorgensen. He had stood, and
Yeah,
in the Villa game, I think he was at fault for the winner from
yeah,
Asensio or something. It went under his body, and it was pretty late on, and things
yeah,
like that. Odegaard has again, he has admitted it hasn't been his best season, and I thought after the two goals against PSV, when we had gone to PSV and beat them, he got two decent goals. I thought, he started Sunday's game very hot, creating a lot of things, influencing a lot of play. But again, Odegaard, I think much like Bruno, seems to have divided our fan base this season because he's had a bit of a lower than his normal levels sort of a season. And he's involved in a lot of the play in the build up, but I'm wanting him to influence more, right? I'm wanting him to be
yeah,
more decisive and in those first few minutes, I saw he was doing a lot in and around the edge of the box. The one chance that Marino got where he pulled the shot wide, it was
yeah,
through a 1-2 that Odegaard started with Declan Rice, a few quick feet that fell to Marino. Those sort of things is what I know him to do. What I don't enjoy is when we're trying to play transitional football and we're on the counter and he then turns around, he does a little pirouette and then plays a pass wide. I
yeah,
feel like I need him to be a bit more direct in that sense. And if we are going to hurt this Chelsea team and they do commit a few numbers forward, we can't have guys turning back. I think in our run last season, we were very ruthless in that aspect. And he was at the forefront of it. And okay, there's guys that are missing and things like that. But now that they are missing, we can't keep using that as an excuse. We have to now make a way to figure out what we're going to do with who we have. I
yeah,
think that Chelsea come here, they've got nothing to lose. I think they've got this guaranteed European football, whether it's Conference League again, whether it's Europa. I think the most likely to win the Conference League. They're the favourites to win that. So win that. I'm not sure. Do you jump to Europa after that, right? So you win Conference, you then go to Europa, or do you go immediately into Champions League?
I don't know if I think it might be to Europa, but I don't know if that is actually a legit thing.
If it is a thing, okay,
On
yeah. I mean, look,
yeah,
either way, they guaranteed European football because I think there's a lot of changing that's happening in that 4, 5, and 6 spot, or even 3. So 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm not sure how far
yeah,
we'll go for Champions League, Europa, Conference League, all of those things. They should just come in and can play. I think Arsenal's been very
yeah,
generous. We've given a lot to. For me to claim we've got the best, I think we've got the best centre back pairing. I don't think they've shown the best form. I think they've been good, But as a collective, we haven't been good. We've been giving a lot of silly errors and leading to silly goals. The chances that teams score against us are like, I don't believe really in XG, but the XG of the chance is like 0.00 something something. And it's like, okay, it's a half chance and they're scoring it. So there's a bit of that to it. But yeah, I think the key battle is, again, the sort of performance that Declan Rice gives, because he gives the team confidence. And then, which Leandro Trossard then turns up. Also another player. I think there are too many players that divide both of our fan bases. So you have somebody like maybe Bruno who does well for some, but is absolutely horrible for others. I don't know if Xerxes is another one of that, or if everybody just doesn't like him. But maybe somebody like Garnacho, again, does a lot of good, but then there's also a lot of bad. So it's really like those sort of things. I think midfield, as always, is going to be a key battle. They'll have enough firepower. I think defensively we should be fine. Can we score goals? That's a big concern for me. That's definitely so. Yeah, let's see where it's going to go.
Just leave Marino in the number 9, man.
It's crazy, right? Because there's certain games where you can actually forget that he's a midfielder and he does things that any false line would. And then there's games where you're like, okay, this guy shouldn't be in the front line. He shouldn't be in the midfield either, because I feel like there's a switch that needs to be flicked. And sometimes when they move him from striker to midfield, he can't flick that switch quick enough. And I'm not going to be harsh.
It's like basically his mental state. Like he has to try and like get himself into that sort of playing space first. Like, okay, now I'm moving into midfield. How am I going to do this? But like when you're doing it like within the same game, like if Arteta's telling him to drop back a bit, then he needs some time to readjust and readapt again.
It's hard because all of the games that we ask him to do it's basically games that are on a knife edge, basically. It's never comfortable games where we can then tell him, okay, just go play in the midfield for a bit. We want to give the youngster time. We don't give youngsters time, apparently. We have a striker that's on the bench. He's young, and admittedly, we don't just want to throw anybody in. But if he's on the bench and he's making the squad every week, I think you might as well just give him a chance. At this point, what's worse than what we have right now? I don't think he's going to come on and dramatically stink up the place. If anything, he shows a bit more hunger. But a similar case to Kai Havertz in that we asked the midfielder to play a striker role, and we're all like looking at it, and he will come right. I'm hoping he's not going to have to play midfield, or he's not going to have to play false nine next season for an extended period of time. I'm hoping that with the incoming sporting director, if he's confirmed soon, we'll then start working on targets and get our striker in sooner rather than later. But yeah, Marino can do a job. I'm hoping that Sunday he does turn up and he does one of those performances where, I'm actually thinking to myself, well, this guy can play striker for me for the whole season, one of those games. But yeah, let's put our head on a chopping block quickly. Give me a prediction for that Chelsea-Arsenal game.
2-1 Arsenal.
2-1 Arsenal. Fair play? Yeah. Fair play. I think we'll get a few. I think we'll leak ones. I think 3-1 Arsenal, maybe. It's at home. I don't think we should go into the game very timid. I think we should have a go at them because they are also wounded. Whilst understanding that if Cole Palmer decides on his day he's going to turn up, he can destroy any team. And I hate script writing because it literally poor play against Arsenal, and then suddenly you are going to turn up. So let's hope it's not the case.
And that's going to be poor for my FPL because I took him out this week because I just about had enough.
Yeah, you had enough. As soon as the full-time whistle went on Sunday, did you remove him or?
Bro, yeah, you have to avoid that price fall. Like, I had a feeling that there was going to be another price fall coming for him because he's had a couple of those in the last 2 months. So I just had to get him out, and I mean with all the blanks that we're getting this week, need to ensure that I actually get players in that who I think could perform.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair. Okay, well now
and the fact that you creeping up. I had 100-point cap on you, and I think it's down to now 20 points or something. So
but you are back in it. I'm I'm languishing. We say that we're creeping up, or I'm creeping up on AF, but AF and I are not having our best FPL season. Bro. It's not been won by any. Our standards are not exceptionally high, but they're never this low. I can. It's probably my worst FPL season ever.
When I came runner up last season. I think I might have been like 17 points behind Nikita at the end.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think at one point I was like 6 or something during the season. So the
Yeah.
fact that I came back and I had that like
Yeah.
strong finish at the end of the season, I was just like optimistic. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
now next season I'm gonna carry it on. And then for some reason at the starting of the season I said, okay, I'm not gonna put Highland in for the duration
Yeah.
of the season, no matter what. And that first 6 or 7 weeks absolutely killed me. It was
Yeah.
just like, okay, that was my undoing. But yeah, I'm just
Yeah.
gonna stick by it. No more Island, and I'll put him back in next season.
Yeah.
I won't make the same mistake.
Fair play. Okay. Last course on this meal that we've started here. We've spoken about the curtain days. We're now going to talk about the Carabao Cup Final. Liverpool
Yeah.
against Newcastle, going to Wembley. Let's talk just about a bit of the form that each team has had recently. So we'll start with Newcastle. It's been a bit topsy-turvy, up and down, win one, lose one, not very
Yeah.
consistent. What are we feeling going in? They've obviously been dealt a few blows in terms of injuries and suspensions. Should they just be up for it? It's a cup final. Just have a go.
Yeah, so the thing is, like, you don't know what Newcastle's going to turn up on the day. You can get the Newcastle from that annihilated you guys in the League Cup semi final.
Yeah.
Okay, I wouldn't say annihilated, but they kind of outplayed you
Yes,
guys.
yeah, it was over 2 legs,
Yeah,
but it was
yeah,
comprehensive. Yeah.
yeah. It was they outplayed you guys. So you get that Newcastle, and then you get the Newcastle that showed up in Anfield not too long after that,
Yeah.
and they just looked a shadow of that team.
Yeah.
So yeah, like you said, the results also have been topsy turvy. Even the game against West Ham recently, they didn't really look all
Yeah.
that assured. They didn't look like they had some clear cut chances that they really should have taken, but they didn't. So there are gaps. There are holes that can be exploited.
Yeah.
Um, I'm really not optimistic going into this League Cup final for Newcastle this season. This weekend.
Yeah. They haven't won a major trophy, and it's been in a really long time.
Yeah,
I'm not wanting to misquote here. I think it could be close to like 70 years or something like that.
yeah,
But yeah, when they made the final, I thought, okay, this will be a good game. And then, yeah, I think as with Liverpool's season this year, they've played well, but they've also had a good rub of the luck. They've had a bit that's gone for them, and that's fine. It's okay to
yeah,
acknowledge that you've played well and also been assisted by freak of nature things. Like, I mean, Anthony Gordon getting that suspension. I don't know if if it's because he's from Merseyside and he actually didn't want to play them in the final that he did that, because that was foolish.
yeah,
And to be fair, they get away with a lot of that before, and they just finally got penalized. Like, I mean, Joelinton does that almost every game, and he gets away with it. Then they got the Sven Botman injury. When they went to Anfield, Isak was injured. They've had a weird route. I mean, Lewis Hall is out now as well. Probably one of their more consistent players this season as
yeah.
well.
For the
So
season,
yeah, it's been a very weird one. So whilst I started optimistic, I think it has waned a bit. Although I had another spanner in the works, and maybe Liverpool fans are not going to be happy. I don't think they played their best football in this Champions League tie against PSG, a very good PSG side. There were chances, and they definitely could have possibly made it, but it's one of those games where, like, no matter what you try, PSG were always going to go through, regardless of what you were doing. It was set up in a way. I think after that first leg, it was like PSG have to go through. After that first leg performance, I'm thinking to myself, wow,
yeah,
if they don't, it would be like one of those football injustices sort of thing. So I think Liverpool should still win it. There's still enough quality, I think, in the second half that they showed in this Champions League game. It's still there. It's maybe a blip, a little speed bump, but it's not going to deter them. So get this one in
yeah,
and then finish the season strong. I'd said previously, I don't think it's going to be a 13-point gap that it will finish with. I think Liverpool probably do drop a few more points, but they'll still win the league. They'll still win this Carabao Cup now. Obviously, it's not going to be the treble that they wanted, but your first season, they didn't peg Slot, which I think, again, you can't, because he inherited a very good team. But to win the league by the margin that he has, to play the football that they have, and then also to get another domestic trophy, I think it's good. So, yeah, I think they probably dominate. Um, a key battle for me that I'm picking out is, I mean, it's hard to overlook Mo Salah. So any form that he's in, whoever's playing up against him, he's such a pivotal point for Liverpool this season that it's hard to look anywhere further than, okay, there's going to be a Mo Salah influence somewhere. So I think whoever gets the opportunity to play against him, and it's probably going to be like Livramento at left back, and then they'll find another right back. But that's probably the most key and the most.
Wouldn't it be Target? I think Target is there.
Yeah, so I would rather play Livramento than play Target, because Target would be absolutely smoked. Just in terms of age, in terms of mobility, I think Livramento gives you more to kind of match Salah in terms of, being on him the whole time.
But then you have Trippier going up against Luis Diaz, who is, I think, a bit quicker with his feet as well. And I mean, Trippier is getting on with his age, and I don't think he's nowhere close to as quick as he used to be. So, yeah, it's going to be an interesting one to see which way they actually go.
Yeah, I would much rather get the faster fullback on Salah just because of his influence.
Yeah,
I think Diaz, whilst he's been influential, he hasn't hit the form that Liverpool fans want him to. He's got a few bozo moments in him. So if it is Trippier, I think Trippier also doesn't need to be riled up for a sort of game like this. It's a final. He's obviously competed, and he's come up against tricky wingers before. He showed that he was up for it against Martinelli or was it Leandro Trossard in that semi-final. So I don't think he'd be out of place. Maybe they sub him and they bring on somebody a bit younger later on in the game, but I think for the most part, you want that experience, especially with Botman also not going to be available. Lewis Hall now. You want to make sure that the balance is maintained in that backline. So you go with a Fabian Schär, maybe Dan Burn at centre-back, Trippier at right-back, Livramento at left, and then figure out what you're going to do in that midfield, because, again, their key... Liverpool in the PSG game now, they struggled in the midfield and they had Vitinha and João Neves running the midfield, but that's because Gravenberch had a poor game. McAllister wasn't up to his standard. And then Szoboszlai, I think he's divided my interest, basically. There's some games he does well, others that he doesn't, but the engine room wasn't firing, and I think that's why PSG had so much joy. So if Newcastle can somehow do that, and if Isak is accompanied by somebody that can work with him, obviously Gordon's not there, so Harvey Barnes, and I don't know who they play on the right, Jacob Murphy, who's probably been also one of their best performers. If they're able to get those front three and get them enough front football, I think they can cause Liverpool some problems, but I don't think they'll cause it too many where Liverpool actually gets stressed. So, that's my thoughts on it. Any key battles for you?
It will, like you said, that engine room battle, like it's going to be the one that's going to dictate this game. And I think Liverpool are just a bit wounded right now after that Champions League exit. So they're going to try to go all guns blazing this weekend. Unfortunately for Newcastle, the loss of the Champions League for Liverpool coincides with this Carabao Cup Final. So they're going to be getting a Liverpool team that actually wants to win this trophy. They want to get some extra silverware. Slotties, I know he never admitted it, but I mean he wanted that treble was within his grasp this season. And I think that he's going to try to make it a double no matter what. Unfortunately for Newcastle, they just don't have the injuries and the suspensions and all of those things. It just it came at the wrong time.
It's a tough one, man. Just quickly, we were talking about Newcastle's team, and I think I've seen something online talking about, I think Dubravka's wife posted something. As soon as Nick Pope got fit, Dubravka was then just kicked to the bench. So in this final, where maybe Nick Pope's form hasn't been the greatest recently, do you stick him in just because he's got that pedigree and, England international and played in those things? Or do you go with Dubravka, who's basically gotten you to that final?
I would go Dubravka.
Is it because he used to play for Man United, or is it just...
Don't remind me. It's not the same keeper. It's not the same keeper.
Yeah.
His quality this season has been much higher than I think he's surprised. He surprised himself, to be honest, with all of his performances. But I just think morale in the dressing room. I think the players themselves they realize the contribution that he's made in Pope's
Yeah.
absence,
Yeah.
and he's gotten them this far in the cup, so
Yeah.
reward him with that final.
Yeah.
I think it would be pretty bad form for Eddie Howe to be like, no, no thanks.
Yeah.
Drop down to the bench, Nick Pope. You are number one. You're going to be standing in goal for us.
Yeah. No, that's fair. I think you have to give him a chance, and also it does, like you said, gives the team that sort of confidence because they've been with somebody that's been through the sort of battle to get into the final.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that Nick Pope hasn't, but I mean, I think back to the first leg at the Emirates against Arsenal. Arsenal had like something like 20 odd attempts, and Dubravka was a big part. I mean, maybe Kai Havertz finishing, maybe the team's overall finishing was bad, but Dubravka also saved a lot of those attempts. So it's definitely something to sort of, just push them just a little bit more. And also, I think the fact that it's the second final in a few years, there could be a bit of a script. I say script now. It's the second time I mentioned it, but it could be something like they've had the final against Man United, didn't do well, but it was their first final in so many years. So maybe the second year they're doing a bit better, similar to Liverpool in the Champions League, where they made the final after so many years, lost against Real Madrid, and then the following year they went in again, or season or two after that, played against Spurs, and they were the confident team, and Spurs were obviously not. So maybe it could, but yeah, it's going to be a case of guys that have been there versus guys that sort of have been there. I think Newcastle needed to sort of cap Eddie Howe's project. Yeah. Because otherwise it's been a lot of, got Champions League, but okay, also didn't make it out of a very difficult group. Then they've played up and down football. This would be a nice cap for him, I think. Again, put our heads on the chopping block. What are we feeling? Are we feeling penalty shootout? Are we feeling extra time winner? Or is it just going to be dead and done by 90 minutes?
Just before we go into the predictions, I just want to ask you a question real quick.
Okay.
If Eddie Howe doesn't win this,
yeah,
do you think that's him done at Newcastle? Do you think they look for a new manager in the summer? Because he's had a few years now under this since the new ownership, and like they've backed him with resources, with the players that he wants, and all of those things.
Yeah.
But this is his chance to sort of solidify his position for the next like two years or so.
Yeah. I've never been a fan of the coaching cycle, and the life cycle of it is you're obviously judged by what you can win. He brought Newcastle to a space where they weren't occupying for a long time. So you have to give him that credit. I think that buys him a few years. The same way that the reason Arteta stayed was in his first 6 months, he won the FA Cup. So that was there's something. Newcastle qualifying for the Champions League after so many years, that was something. Now getting to another final, there has to be something. So I don't think they should get go of him. I know that there were talks of them looking at a succession plan to get rid of him and then Jason Tyndall as well. And bringing somebody new who's got a bit more experience. I don't know who's on the market that can do more with what they've done with the players that they've had or have currently. So I think they probably get rid of him. I think it's probably going to be incorrect. But yeah, I think they'll probably go for a foreign manager outside of England, and we'll see what happens. What about you? Do you think that this is his last showdown?
So they're still very much within top four each, and I think if they're not successful with this, if they end up within the top four, I think fifth is also Champions League spot.
Fifth can be Champions League,
yeah. So they're very much within reach. I think let me look here. They are level with Man City at the moment on 47 points with 10 games left. So top four Champions League spots it's within reach for them. If they're not successful with this and they get Champions League, I think he stays. If he doesn't get Champions League and he's not successful with the trophy, I think they might be looking around at somebody else. Gareth Southgate is still unemployed, guys. So
he's still unemployed.
You never know.
So Ruben Amorim, watch your back. Because Gareth Southgate's still there. It's still a possible. Never know.
The thing is, Dan Ashworth was removed because apparently, reportedly, that was his suggestion. He wanted Gareth to come in, and then Jim Radcliffe was just like, "What?
Yeah.
You what?" Like, okay, let's just rather get rid of this guy instead.
Yeah. I think the big concern for Newcastle, especially with the players that they have right now, is if they don't qualify for Champions League, I think Isak bounces, right?
Yeah.
I think even regardless, he might actually go just because I think he wants to be in a team that's going to compete for the whole season and not just a part of it. You lose Isak. Isak is a big focal point for them. Suddenly, guys like Bruno, Guimaraes might also look for the exit. Maybe
Yeah.
the youngsters possibly stay a bit longer, but then you have a few more exits, and then you deal with a new manager, losing key players, and you're now going to have to do a semi-rebuild.
Yeah.
So yeah, they charted, or they're on very shaky. I wouldn't say shaky ground, but it's very it's on a knife edge. It could go either way. So yeah, definitely. Let's jump to predictions. Let's see where it's going to go. So I'll go first. You gave me the first one for Chelsea Arsenal. I think it's I'm going to go with facts and figures. I'm going to go Liverpool 2-0.
Nice. I think I really do want Newcastle to win this trophy,
Yeah.
but I think that everything is just against them, and I think they're going to make it go to extra time. I think it will be 2-2 after 90, and then Liverpool get the winner in extra time. Yeah, 3-2.
Okay.
3-2.
Not a shootout, because 2 shootouts in 1 week is crazy.
Yeah, I don't think so. But that's the other thing as well. Liverpool have extremely tired legs after that very late night on Tuesday.
Yeah.
So yeah, like Newcastle could take that with open arms and hopefully try to exploit that. But I don't know. I think there's too much BMT in that Liverpool team. They've been to a couple of finals before recently, and they come clutch. So yeah, unfortunately, I think it's going to be a 3-2 Liverpool.
Okay, fair. I mean, look, as a neutral, 3-2 is not bad. 5 goals, it's what you want from a final, not to be too cagey and things like that. So, yeah, let's see who comes closest to either of those two predictions that we had given. Hopefully, my team comes out favorably, and hopefully, Newcastle, maybe we are Geordies underneath everything else, But yeah, that wraps up episode 108. We are extremely grateful for the journey you've been a part of. You can follow us on all the socials. I'm not going to plug. If you, after 108, you don't know where to find AF Parker 642 on all socials, then maybe, I don't know. But we are at Sportycast on all of the major platforms. We appreciate the love. We appreciate the support. We are on the road to 500 YouTube subscribers. It seems like small. It seems very insignificant to some. Maybe we should be aiming higher, but we're trying to go at this slowly. We've built a foundation. We are happy with everybody that subscribed. We are extremely grateful. Show some love. Give us a comment. Give us a like. Give us a subscription. Give us a share. Let people know about us. Like, we are trying as much as we can to get the word out, but we are relying a lot on the generosity of the current subscribers and all the future subscribers as well. So AF, thanks for jumping in. This little Andy Cole Dwight York combo. It was successful then, it was successful now. So shout out to you. Shout out to the support that you give the program as well. And we'll catch you again on the next one. Peace.